Hello, hello, and welcome back to the Woo Woo Mum podcast, the show for mums who want to reconnect with their inner magic. I'm your host, Alexandra Shepherd, and this week has not gone as expected, which ironically is exactly what you would expect during Mercury retrograde. Our dishwasher broke, our Wi-Fi has decided to go glacially slow, and my son is going through this phase where he's really unhappy with being around other kids, which is a problem because his childminder has several other children to look after at the same time. So we've decided to reduce his hours for a little bit until he's out of this phase. So he's spending more time at home, which is lovely, but it means that my husband and I have to get our work done in a fraction of the time. And I am really feeling that reduced childcare, let me tell you. But I did manage to find the time to bring you this week's episode. My guest this week is the incredible Dr. Chantelle J. Lewis, writer, activist, spiritual practitioner, raver, stepmother, and widow. And the amazing thing about Chantelle is that her journey into motherhood is anything but conventional. Just a heads up, this conversation is super honest. Chantelle shares openly about mental health, losing her husband to cancer, finding her identity through stepmotherhood, and learning to calm the fire that drove her through survival mode for years. But she also talks about the joy, the love, the magic, the music, and the moments that reminded her again and again that the universe really does have her back. She also breaks down her spiritual practice, such as community meditation, shadow work, women's circles, the role of sobriety in raising your vibration, and how juice fasting became a surprising portal to clarity, intuition, and God. And of course, we talk about motherhood, the power of non-biological love, the beauty and difficulties of blended families, and the tiny rituals that help us reconnect to ourselves. You can find Chantelle on TikTok at Dr. Chantelle Jessica Lewis. And you can also check out her book, We See Things They'll Never See, which she co-wrote with Jason Arday. It explores neurodiversity at the intersections of critical theory, black feminism, disability studies, and love. As always, I would absolutely love to hear your thoughts on the episode. DM me, leave a comment, rate and review in all the usual places. And you can connect with the podcast on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Just search Woo Woo Mum Podcast. Before we dive in, just a quick reminder, if you're new here, make sure you subscribe to the Woo Woo Mum Podcast so you never miss an episode. And if this conversation resonates with you, I'd love for you to share it with another mum who needs to hear it. All right, let's get into today's episode with Chantelle. Hey Chantelle, thank you so much for coming to Woo Woo Mum Podcast. Welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
I'm so excited to be on Woo Woo Mum Podcast.
Oh, thank you.
This is like,
For background, I was just about to say that we started recording this first episode a few weeks ago during Mercury retrograde, and the episode was just unusable because of all the tech problems we had.
I think I had to record, my internet was playing up and I had builders in my flat and I had to record in my car and then it just kept cutting out, didn't it?
Yeah, my internet was trash. Like, it was the first time recording for me, recording an episode, so it was not a good time for me to start. But everything's under control now, and I'm so happy that we're able to record under better circumstances. And I'm really excited to talk to you because I feel like your journey into motherhood is quite unusual. So, can you tell us about how you came into motherhood and what it felt like to be a mum in your way?
Like I'm just grinning even before I start talking about this because being a step parent or stepmother has definitely been the best thing, one of the best things that's happened in my adult life so far. Like, I think it's important to just start by saying that I come from like a long line of like step families basically and blended families. And when I was growing up, I basically vowed like I'll never be a step parent and I will never bring step parenting into my life, into my family, because I had such poor experiences with step parents. So it was just so interesting to me when I met Evelyn and Rebecca, like my two stepdaughters, their dad, that he had children and that I was effectively going to become part of their lives. So my journey into becoming a step parent or stepmother occurred when I met my late husband, who died of cancer in March 2022. Before he died, obviously, he brought into this world alongside of their amazing mum, Evelyn and Rebecca. He had his children when he was younger. So he had his children when he was 19, no, 20 and 21, but pregnant at 19, 20 and 21. And so when I met him, when he was like 35, the girls were like 11 and 12, going on 11, 12, 13. So I was 22. So there was like 12 years between me and my late husband. So yeah, like when I look back at, like, I'm 32 now, soon to be 33. My journey with stepmotherhood started when I was 22. And like I look back at it now and I'm like, wow, I was a baby as well. Like I was a baby. Yeah, so that was my kind of introduction to stepmotherhood. The partner that I had chosen to be with had, 2 daughters.
And you said that it's one of the best things that happened to you in your adult life.
I think, again, like I can't not smile and talk about them because I just love them so much. They're so brilliant. I think that because I'd had such a bad experience with step parents, I think that there's good and bad things about this, but I think because I'd had such a bad experience, I was so committed to being a really good step parent because I'd had such a bad experience. And I think that at times, I think that's been brilliant for our relationship, but I think at times it's not always been great because you kind of ear into your kind of like your people pleaser and your ego and stuff. So I don't think I've definitely not always done it right. But I think my overriding feeling was always, I want these girls to know that I unconditionally care and love them and want to see them thrive. Although obviously I mentioned that their dad, my late husband, passed away of cancer. Like a lot of our life, well, for about 5 years, our life centered a lot around care work and cancer as well. And I think that as well as step parenting, we also, as a collective, had to manage quite a lot. And I think although it was really, really difficult at times, I think that we learned so much about ourselves and our family during that time. And I think that that is now something I kind of see as a gift. I think that I've learned so much about the power of women as well. Like, I think that Evelyn and Rebecca's mum is an incredible woman. I really look up to her. And yeah, I think that it's just taught me so much about life. When I met their dad, I was 22, from a working class background, had very much lived on a kind of survivor hustle mentality. And when I met their dad and Evelyn and Rebecca came into my life, it grounded me. And I needed that grounding. It centered me in family in a way that I'd never experienced before.
That's so beautiful. I find it really heartwarming to hear about blended families that work out well, because so often it can go the other way. But when it does work out, as you say, there's so much we can learn from each other and so much mutual support we can provide when it does work.
I think it's important to say that when it does work, there is often instances within that process where it hasn't worked. So I would be doing a disservice to all of us if I said that it had always been smooth.
Sure. Yeah.
And I think that, like, my conclusion is still one of love and understanding. I don't think any blended family, if they're seen as a more successful one, has ever had a kind of straight road, because you're dealing with young people, you're dealing with parents, you're dealing with ego. In our case, we were dealing with terminal health. You're dealing with like lockdowns. Like, we had dealing with the lockdown, and COVID was also something that it was one of the things that was always so perplexing for us as a blended family. When the rules were coming out about lockdowns, they never took into consideration separated or blended families and households and how we would make that work. It was just like we were just ignored, yet probably most of the families in Britain are separated or blended families now, which I
Absolutely.
think is interesting.
So it seems to me, just hearing that bit about your life, that you've experienced a lot in your relatively short time on this earth. As you say, you're 32 going on 33. How has spirituality and your spiritual practice... Oh, you've got your 33 tattoo. Is that... why is that significant to you, that number?
Because this is my 33rd year, and I knew this year was going to be the year that I truly loved myself.
Amazing. It's also one of the master numbers in astrology,
Exactly.
in numerology, sorry.
Exactly.
So how has your spiritual practice helped you to weather those times, like the loss of your husband and all the other things that you've experienced? You say you had difficulties with step parents as well growing up.
I think one of the most incredible things that spirituality continues to give me right now is detachment and a recognition that everything will always be okay. Everything is working in its natural order, and everything is duality. Where there's shadow, there is light. Where there is light, there is shadow. And I think that, yeah, I'm someone that's experienced quite a lot in this lifetime at quite a young age. And for a long time, even when I was really young and experiencing things that I felt sad that I was experiencing them at a young age, it's not until now that I realize that that was part of my journey, and I'm grateful for those things. So I think spirituality really has helped me with acceptance, and has helped me to better understand my path and my journey in this lifetime. Um, but I was definitely, as a child, like spiritual. But I guess like the combination of society, structure, capitalism, family kind of like knocks it out of you a little bit. Like I think we've spoken about this at other points, Alex, but I think one of the things that sometimes that can be missing from spirituality or discussions around spirituality is a class politics. So I think that another reason why my spiritual practice had a bit of a delay, or like went for a little bit, was because times were hard, and it's difficult to see your life in the future when your life in the present is so difficult from a material point of view. Um, but now, like, I see, again, as I said, everything working in its natural order, and the abundance, no matter what, it's always within me and within my grasp.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that thing about duality and detachment has been so important for me, because there was a time where politically I was just so angry all the time, and that anger, I think anger can be really, really important and good, but when it's bottled up, or when it has no outlet or no acceptance, it can be really stifling, and it led me into a really negative spiral. And when I started meditating, I was able to have more acceptance, and acceptance didn't mean that I don't care about things that are happening. It meant that I had more hope in a way. So spirituality I think has made me a better human in so many ways, and a more calmer person too, even though there's so much going on that I'm angry and sad and disgusted about. It doesn't rule my thoughts like it used to.
100%. Like, and thank you so much for that, because it's reminded me of like one of the probably key things that spirituality's done for me. It's calmed me down. Oh
Mm,
my God, I've just been vexed for a long time. Like, vexed, like angry, like, but that anger and that fire I had in my belly got me through some very, very challenging times in my life. Like, um, so in my recent book, um, I've written about um having a mental breakdown when I was 16, and getting sectioned. After I got out of hospital, I had this fire in my belly that I didn't want to be in hospital again. I didn't want to be locked up again. I wanted to live a life, and I wanted to find a way out of the situation that I was in. And that was, it was anger, but it was drive. And then when I went to university, I was like, I have to keep pushing and keep working to survive, but also to thrive. And like, it was fire. And then I'm politically engaged. Like, there's all these different movements happening. Like, maybe we're going to like end capitalism. Like, all this is anger that's in me, that's pushing me forward, that pushed me for a PhD, that pushed me through caring for my terminally ill husband until he died, that pushed me through step parenting. And it's like, it all got to like a kind of crescendo moment, and there was spirituality. And my good friend, one of my spiritual teachers, is Shibo. She was kind of one of the main people that kind of invited me into the practice of spirituality. And the rest is history from there, really. That was nearly 3 years ago now. And I guess what happened is I've just calmed down.
So you said you were kind of inducted into the spiritual practice about 3 years ago. What did that look like?
So, as I might be saying this, we were in my lounge one day, and we were eating, and Ez had a vision of, no, not a vision, saw my late husband in my lounge. Yeah, she'll probably have a different way of kind of recording it, but it was at that point that she kind of like invited me into the work. And we used crystals, obviously. Like, she taught me a lot about crystals, she taught me a lot about meditation, she taught me a lot about the two kind of spiritual leaders that kind of helped me through meditation. One of them Ez introduced me to is Muji, and then another one, Deep Chopra, who I actually saw do a live meditation at Glastonbury. So this is all kind of happening at the same time. And then we used to basically do these kind of spirit work sessions together, where we'd sit, light candles, cleanse the space, and just talk and just go back and forth. And Ez is a powerful healer and a powerful spiritual practitioner. And the work that she supported me with was basically looking at my shadow and looking at my ego and bringing it out so I could see it. And yeah, that's what the work looked like in that way. Then I started EFT therapy, which is tapping. That was a big part of my kind of induction to spiritual practice. And then I joined a women's group, which is run by an amazing woman called Dee, who runs I Am Well Therapies and Islington Healing Network. And she is just incredible. And we meet every Saturday morning, 7 till whatever time we want to go on till. We meditate together, we pull cards together, we reason, and it's mainly Black women, and we just talk about what's going on, this life, this realm, other realms.
Yeah, I'm really starting to see the importance of like not doing the spiritual journey alone, and how much better things are as part of community. For any mums listening who want to embark on that spiritual journey but maybe don't have a friend in their lives like the one you had, how would you recommend they start to connect with their inner spiritual self?
So one of my good friends, also a woo-woo mum, she meditates through cleaning. She's got ADHD.
Yes, I love that.
She's got ADHD. She can't do the sit and meditate. She can't do it at this moment. So she does it through cleaning. So she'll have hours where she doesn't talk to anyone and cleans, and she is meditating. If you can look at the darkest parts of yourself through journaling, then I think anything is possible. And it's judgment-free journaling, writing exactly how you feel in the way that you feel it, and don't judge yourself for it. I think that is a really powerful tool for spiritual practice. Obviously, there's light and shadow in everything, including social media. But I think TikTok has a really powerful spiritual community. I
Mm-hmm.
really do. For all its faults, overall for me, it's been a positive experience, but it might be because I've had different physical people in my life that have taught me things. But I also think once you step into the work, it all just like once you invite that vibration into your life, I just think more and more of it just comes.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. I never sought out any of it deliberately. It was more
no.
just, oh, this book interests me. I'll read this book. This podcast interests me. I'll follow this subject. Or for me, it was starting out doing the magic challenge, 30-day challenge with a friend, which is like a manifesting challenge by Rhonda Byrne, who wrote The Secret, which I have a lot of issues with. But the magic was a really, really powerful 30-day practice involving gratitude and manifesting little things that basically showed you how powerful you were. And that's what started my daily gratitude practice about 5 years ago that I continue to this day. And that is like a cornerstone of my life. And if anyone needs an easy way to get into spirituality, just start with gratitude, because it will, I can't think of any easier, cheaper just more basic way to improve your life than with gratitude lists and with a gratitude practice.
It gets a bad rep now, but and I don't know why that is. I feel like it's Babylon trying to infringe upon spirituality. But vision boarding is just like, that was very much part of my introduction to spiritual practice as well. Putting down on paper exactly what I want without limitations and then watching it all come.
Yeah. Being able to name what you want as well is a major thing. It was a major thing for me. I realized like how difficult it was for me to truly name what I wanted and to figure out what I wanted away from the trappings of what I should want. When most people manifest, a lot of them, it's like, what car do you want? What handbag do you want? What sort of house do you want? And for me, it's always been about what experiences do I want? What do I want to feel? And there's nothing wrong with wanting a certain car or a certain handbag. It just doesn't make me happy. So I've had to go on a real journey of figuring out what I want my wealthy, abundant life to look like. And that is such a joyful, fun thing to do. I recommend everyone does it.
Yeah, that's powerful. And you just reminded me, another thing that I did when I first started my journey was I didn't buy clothes for a year. And because I was someone, I've got quite a lot of addictive tendencies. I'm a Pisces moon. I used to just buy clothes all the time. And for 1 year, I didn't buy any clothes. And it really, really helped me with my relationship with consumerism and material things. And again, it's not to, we should have whatever we want in abundance. But what it made me realize is I don't actually want those things. What I want is peace, love, experiences, sunshine, not loads of clothes from a fast fashion brand. Like, I just don't, that isn't what I wanted, but it was what I was kind of soothing myself through with.
I think being able to name how you soothe yourself is so, so important. And as you say, it's not in this way to kind of like create this completely monk life existence where we chop everything out. But for me recently, I've just completely gone off alcohol. And last night I went on a date with my husband and I had a large glass of wine, which is unusual for me recently, and I feel terrible. I felt terrible waking up. I felt terrible last night, and I realized that I don't want this anymore. And something that was like such a big part of how I soothed myself in the evening, I had to really face the fact that, oh, I was, even though it might have been a little bit with dinner, that became a habit. I was using it to soothe the stresses of the day. And I find it interesting that all of a sudden I don't need that anymore. And I don't know what changed. I know what changed. My son started sleeping better. That's what changed. I have an evening now to actually de-stress, and what I want is like my sleepy time pucker herbal tea and a nice soothing movie in bed. Like, I don't want a glass of wine anymore. That's really, yeah, I just came to that realization now. So being able to name like how you soothe yourself is so important for finding out what the real issue is underneath. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so powerful. And again, another part of my spiritual journey has been sobriety. So yeah, I haven't drank for over 2.5 years now. And
Which is interesting as well for you because you're a raver and you
I am
love
a
to
raver.
party. So,
Hmm.
how has not drinking changed your raving experience?
So basically, I started fully identifying as a raver after I stopped drinking, because it wasn't until I stopped drinking that I realized the thing that I raved for was not the alcohol, it's the music. And that's what sobriety and spirituality in tandem gave to me. It helped me to what is my true passion. My passion wasn't the sesh. My passion wasn't getting drunk or like go into another realm, like in ways that I probably like were not necessarily good for me. My passion was music and sound, but I was drowning that out, pardon the pun, with alcohol. And I really try my best to not be judgmental around alcohol. However, one thing that I will say is anyone that I am in community with or speak to now that is entering higher vibration, which I definitely can see that's happening for you, Alex, are looking at their relationship with alcohol. Because I just don't, and there's Rusters that talk about this. There are people that are a lot more versed in this stuff, but I don't think alcohol. I don't know that. I don't think alcohol and spirituality are aligned, basically. And I don't mean I'm not. It's not coming from a judgmental place, because like sometimes like I kind of wish that I had had a better relationship with alcohol, so maybe I could participate sometimes, but I don't have a good relationship with it. Like, so I don't do it. But now it's made me really look at, or when people come to me like what you just shared here, it's always people that are seeing things and going deeper into their spiritual practice that are looking at their relationship with it.
I've actually felt quite proud that been able to have it in my life and it's never been something that controls me. But I'm also aware that British culture is a very alcohol heavy culture, and I noticed that when I go to visit my husband's family in the US, because they will go out for a baseball game and there's no alcohol on sale anywhere, which is unheard of in the UK to have a sports event without any alcohol. But now I always knew that very spiritual people pretty much cut out alcohol, and I knew it was on the horizon for me to address, but I had to address it at the time it was right for me, and it's kind of just fallen away without any effort. I still think you can be spiritual and have alcohol in moderation. I'm not cutting it
100%.
out of my life
Mm-hmm.
completely, but I think anything that you're using as a soother, whether it's alcohol or
Sweets,
sugar
my sugar.
or the opposite. I know people who have used veganism as a soother or cut out every processed food and started eating raw food. And they use that as a soother. Like, you can go the other way as well. So it's not so much the substance, but the way in which you're using it. And I think it's really important to just take a look at ourselves from time to time. And I think in this country, there's a really weird glorification of motherhood and alcohol that goes together, like description of being a gin mum, or like funny things about how you drink to avoid your kids. And like I just think it would be better if maybe we had a look at ourselves and thought, okay, well, why am I drinking? And I don't want that to sound judgy at all, because motherhood
Yeah.
is so hard. And like, if I needed a glass of wine every night through the last 18 months to get me through my son's terrible sleep, and so what? I'm glad I actually had that. But it always is helpful when we're able to be honest with ourselves and look at our lives and see what we're using to get through, because that is like showing us what needs to change in a way. I'm just very careful. I really don't want to sound judgmental
No,
because
yeah,
I don't
same.
want to be.
Same. No, I completely agree. And do you know what it is? It's like, it's a bit like pick your poison as well.
Mhm.
So like I identify as a raver, but I also identify as an addict. So I have addictive tendencies, and part of my spiritual practice is to manage my addiction, and my addiction is obviously part of my shadow. It's also part of my light as well. So like I've had issues of addiction to alcohol, to drugs, to work, to sugar, to relationships, all of it. So it's like you mentioning like people saying you see people being addicted to like veganism, and it reminded me of a TikTok that I saw the other day, and it was like, it's not crack. At least you're not on crack. You broke up, whatever you're doing, at least it's not crack. And it's just like, if you're having a glass of wine, that's fine. Like, it's just all about moderation and balance. And unfortunately for people like me, our path in this life is one which means we need to navigate addictive tendencies. So we have to look carefully at what we can then utilize balance for. So that's just me. But the point is to know yourself, really know yourself, and don't judge, know yourself, but don't judge yourself.
That's really the key, isn't it? To know yourself, but not to judge yourself. And that is very, very hard. And I think a lot of people avoid the knowing of themselves because of the judgment that they feel is inevitable. But it just doesn't help anyone to judge yourself or to be unkind to yourself. So don't do it.
Yeah.
So speaking of like veganism, I know that you're a big fan of juice fasts, and I'm really fascinated by this because a lot of women in my family swear by juicing, and I've always been like, well, I don't see what's so good about it, like I'd rather eat my vegetables. But you've said that it's really helped you from a spiritual perspective and with your ADHD and your neurodivergence. So can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, so again, juicing came about a year and a bit after my spiritual awakening, and juicing came via my shadow. I mentioned I've got issues with like addiction and sugar, and part of how I've soothed myself in life has been through like sweets, chocolate, and whatever. I used to like do a lot of cardio exercise, but then eat a lot of sugar, and obviously that's very, very unhealthy. I had a cancer scare basically, and I had an inflamed bowel, and basically, like, just to give further context, my late husband died of bowel cancer. So
Wow.
it was very like, it was all, I even saw the same consultant that used to see him, and they did a colonoscopy on me because they had found traces of potential tumours. They did a colonoscopy on me, nothing there, but just tension and inflammation. And he was like, you need to slow down, you need to de-stress, and you need to think about what you're putting in your body.
That's really sound advice from an NHS doctor, like holistic advice.
It was brilliant. It was so powerful. Like, it was obviously, I'm also religious as well as spiritual. So like for me, it was just so direct from God. Like, what are you doing, Chantelle? And then that next week, am I going to share this on the podcast? No, I'm going to share it on the podcast. So that next week, because it's important, it is part of why I got into juicing. So that next week, I was back to doing the same thing, Alex. I was back to doing the same thing. I still was not taking it seriously, eating like just loads of sweets and chocolates, just soothe myself, working really hard, and then running like 50 kilometers a week to just get the ADHD energy out of me, get this food out of me, like proper abusing my body. And literally 2 weeks after I'd had this cancer scare, got the all clear, started again, I was running in Battersea Park and I pooed myself.
Oh my gosh.
Mm-hmm.
So was that like your wake-up call to start taking this seriously?
I pooed myself. I had to get home. I lived at the time in Battersea. I had to get home. I was about 5 kilometers away from my house.
Oh my god. Like, if that wasn't a sign from your body and the universe telling you to stop.
But that's how mad, madness, I think, gets a bad rep, but like, I know that madness has given me so much. So I lean into it. Like, madness is part of me, but that is how mad I can, like, how clear God has to be with me. Like, Chantelle, listen, I'm glad it doesn't get to those points anymore in the way that it did, but that is what happened. That next day, I went to a coffee shop around the corner from my house, and I sat in the coffee shop and I was just crying because I didn't know what to do. I was living on my own, widow, not got that much family around me, and I just can't shake this relationship with like sugar and trying to soothe myself. Just trying to soothe myself
So
in
you knew
amongst
it was
it.
the sugar.
I knew it was the sugar. And a woman came and sat next to me, who's a woman that I used to see in my yoga class. Her name's Jeannie, and she's an Egyptian and Sudanese woman. And for context, my step family are Egyptian and Lebanese. So like I have like connection to these people. Anyway, she came over to me and she was like, "Why haven't you been in yoga?" And I just started crying. She had all crystal bracelets on and like a clear quartz pendant on. She was like, "Why haven't you been in yoga?" And I just started crying and crying and crying. And Jeannie helped me fully get on top of food. So we used to cook together every Sunday and make meals together. And she taught me about juicing. She taught me about sea moss. She taught me about ashwagandha. She would come and spend time in my house with me, cook with me, and make juices with me and help me plan what I was going to eat and how I was going to eat it and when. She really, really was an angel
What a
sent for
gift.
me. Yeah. So my relationship with juicing was what that is been embedded in my shadow. And then I've come to this point. So after that, I started to realize as I'm starting to juice more, the juice actually just gives you so much energy, but also juicing, I believe, is a part of a divine process as well. So I started to get into Dr. Sebi, started to understand more about processed foods, understand more about natural detoxing. So I find out more about how they're poisoning us constantly. Um, and yeah, like from there, about 6 months later, I did my first juice fast. I started off by doing 3-day juice fast, and then I've done 7 days, 2 weeks, and then my longest one I've done is 21 days. But I try and do a juice fast at least once a month now. But yeah, for me, when I'm fasting and when I'm juicing, is when I get closest to God and spirit.
Mm. I mean, that makes perfect sense when you think about how fasting is such a key tenet of so many religions. Um, my mum used to fast quite a lot as a child when she wanted like a period of like when she wanted to deepen her connection with God, and I
Yeah.
never understood it. I just didn't understand the connection with not eating and being hungry and deepening your connection with God. How would you describe it? What is it that juice fasting does that deepens your connection to the divine?
It strips away everything. So part of how we're getting through this life is consumption. And we know that when it comes to like portions of food and the actual food that we're eating and what's in the food, these are things that are constantly either taking us away or numbing us from our higher consciousness. So the less of that we put in our bodies, the closer we get to a higher consciousness and the closer we get to God. For some people, they'd only need to fast for like 18 hours and they get it. For some people, they need longer. For some people, they can't even do long juice fast. It's just juicing in and of itself helps them to feel closer. But it's about like, for me, getting back to nature, getting back to Mother Earth, having Mother Earth in you and speaking through you. And honestly, the most powerful meditations, the most powerful journaling I've done is when I've been in the sun, ideally not here, um, and I'm fasting. And don't get me wrong, like when I say it's when you feel closest to God or the divine, it doesn't mean it's pretty. Some of my darkest times in terms of looking at my shadow has been when I'm fasting and it's all downloaded and I can see it and it's making me look at things that I've been avoiding.
And this is what people don't talk about on spiritual journeys. yes, there's like the fun. No, I won't say fun, but like there's the
The
beauty of
magic.
it, the magic of it, but there's also like the heaviness of it and that duality again. Like that has to be looked at too, where you have to really face yourself and face why you act a certain way. And it's amazing that juicing has helped you with that. I think I'm
100%.
going to try it. Like for the first time, I feel like I want to try it. Maybe I'll try like a 24-hour one
Yeah,
or
start
something when I get back from
small.
holiday.
Yeah, start small and build yourself up and like just follow your intuition. So like I've been meditating this week and like my intuition is saying to me that I need to do a 14-day juice fast. So I'm starting one
Hmm.
on Monday. Like you just take the directs. Like once you start connecting to juice fasting, I feel like it becomes another way of, yeah, your intuition speaking through you.
Yeah, yeah. I think I'm ready. Now, so now for the quick fire question, Chantelle. First one: how woo are you?
Oh, honestly, if we're doing woo out of 10, I think I'm about an 8 or a 9. The
Yeah, I
things
think
that
you are too.
the things that keeps me from being 10 is probably capitalism and this realm and the
Hmm.
material and the materiality. Like I think that is what keeps me, like, so the connection between ego, capitalism and material wants and desires, I think that is what keeps me from being fully woo.
How has motherhood made you more spiritual, if at all?
I didn't know this at the time when it was happening, but now in hindsight and retrospectively, I think that being a stepmother to two amazing women now has taught me the power of non-biological love and unconditional love. And I think that's what we're here for. That is, for me, spirit is love.
It's all love. It all
It's
comes
just
back to
love.
love.
Love always wins. Love always wins.
When was the moment you realised the universe truly has your back?
When I was able to make peace with my childhood and my parents, when I forgave my parents.
And how old were you when you did that?
32.
Oh, and the last quickfire question: what is a woo-woo story from your life that gives you goosebumps? So, a coincidence, synchronicity, maybe something spooky.
I don't necessarily have a story, but everything that's happened in my life, now I look back on it, I can see how interlinked everything is and has been. So,
Hmm.
like, I'll give a couple of examples. Like, my mum was born on the 11th of March. Um, she's Pisces. My dad is also a Pisces. I'm a Pisces moon. My late husband died on the 11th of March. Um, I went to Loughborough University, so I did my undergrad, and I was friends with like all these like I was friends with like had friends at university, obviously, and now like my current my partner, my life partner, he like went to school with some of those people that I was friends with at school. Like there's so many, and like I can't give as many because I haven't asked his permission, but like there's so many things with my life partner, right? Where there's so many like alignments that couldn't have happened until this point that I've met him now. Like everything that's happened in my life, whether it's step parenting, being sectioned, being a widow, so much of those things have led to this point for me. And so many of those things had to happen in the order in which they've happened in order for me to meet my now life partner. And we also met on our first date when all the planets were in alignment as well on the 25th of January. Yeah.
Yes, I remember that. That was this year then.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah, like I don't have like anything. There's definitely things I can't think off the top of my head now, but the synchronicities. I don't know if any, like, obviously when everyone's listening to this in October, I do believe that many of us have entered a higher state of consciousness and we're in a different frequency.
Yeah,
And
post eclipse
the
portal.
the synchronicities are every day, constantly now.
Hmm. Yeah, same for me as well. Just experiencing synchronicities and people from my past coming back in being reminded of them in the most weirdest of ways, and it's happening on a daily basis too. And I love that because it's a really powerful reminder that I believe we have choice in our life, but ultimately we're not in control all the
No.
time. And sometimes it's okay to just put your desires out there and let the universe do the rest.
For and just in addition to that, my friend Ezima reminds me, or has previously reminded me, God doesn't move, but like God wants the best for you and wants you to be full of love and joy and happiness and all these things, but you have to experience other things as well. But that is just part of the process and we're not in control.
Yeah. Yeah. The God or the universe really
God or
only
the
wants the
universe.
best for
Yeah,
us.
yeah,
And I'm happy with either one actually. I know some people for a long time I couldn't say God because of my bad experience at church, but now I'm just
same.
able to reconcile the two and see that they're both one and the same.
And I do believe that it's already done. Everything's written.
Mm,
I think it's written. I think it's done. Everything is done. So if you have something in your heart that you're desiring or that you're like pushing for or whatever, like it's already done. You're just getting there.
yeah, I think that's a really powerful note to end on. Thank you so much, Chantelle, for like your honesty and your vulnerability in this. I think it's going to help a lot of people who have maybe gone through some of the things you went through, like mental health crises, grief, big family changes, family like relationships that haven't been most loving. I'm touching a lot, and you've clearly been through a lot, but it's really inspirational that you've alchemized it and turned it into something really powerful and positive.
Thank you, Alex. I can't believe I just told everyone I pooed myself. I need to be, I have to say, do you know what? I have to say it though. I have to share my experiences because what's my North Node? My North Node's in Sagittarius, isn't it?
Yeah,
So like, I can't be going through all this madness and not share it. That I have
that's
to.
exactly it. And it's in the eighth house, which is like the house of the taboo. Now you know better for next time. And
Definitely.
now we all know better for next time.
Definitely.
Okay, thank you so much, Chantel.
Thank you, Alex.